Wow, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Shoot the Defense on No Choftes. We decided to move it from one platform to the other. It's going to be the same quality, probably more piss takes, because there's a guy at the bottom whose team won the treble. We're going to go into that in just a moment. I'm Stel. I've got Sagi Burton, Rhodri Giggs, Steve Eyre. I'm going to go one by one. Sag, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just actually, I didn't mention before, just recovering from a stress fracture.
How do you
So,
manage that?
I played a charity game for Palace Foundation, and someone's two-footed me.
Fucking hell.
I didn't break my leg while playing proper football, and then it happens in a charity game. Crazy, eh?
What a start, mate. What a start. Well, look, just for the benefit of our listeners, can you explain to them where you played before doing this with us?
Yeah, so started off at Crystal Palace, played a few games there. Was doing quite well under Terry Venables, and then obviously this first time the club went into administration, moved on to a few different clubs: so Colchester, Port Vale, Peterborough, Shrewsbury, and Barnet. I suppose you could throw Sheffield United in there, but I didn't actually play for them. I was on a non-contract thing there, and just a nightmare story. And played a bit of international football for St Kitts, who are doing okay at the moment. They're in the Gold Cup qualifications at the moment. So that's my football career.
Who was the coach at Sheffield United?
Adrian Heath.
Oh, okay. Oh, former City man. Okay.
Oh, what mate! What a great guy he was, though. But agreed a contract and stuff, and then was on the bench for 2 games, and then because I was signed on contract, was on the bench for 2 games, and he resigned straight after the game. So that
wow.
just killed me. It just sums up my career, I think. But
Who
who
came in after him?
Pardon?
Who came in after him?
Warnock.
Colin. Okay. Fair
Neil.
enough. Yes.
Colin.
Yeah.
Colin.
Whatever his name is, I don't know.
Colin. It's an anagram for something else. Anyway, I'm not going to get
Okay.
I'll just say, if you rearrange the words, it's Colin Wanker. You rearrange the names of the letters of his name. It's Colin Wanker.
Okay.
That's why I call him Colin. Yeah, no. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Rhodri, how you doing, young man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very good. You've been really quiet on the WhatsApp lately. You've been busy.
No, I have been busy with work. Busy with work. Just football back now, pre-season. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We're not going to talk about the team in green. We're not going to do that. It's not kind of show today. Steve,
no, Celtic always do well. So, yeah.
Yes, Celtic. Yeah, got Brendan Rodgers as head coach now. He's gone back.
Yeah, exactly,
he's gone there for manager therapy, as we used to call it. Remember this? The Scottish Premier League, we used to call it manager therapy. Rehab. You go back to resurrect your career, and that's what they do. So yeah, there you go. Mr. Eyre, how are you?
Good, Stel. Are you okay, mate?
I'm good, mate. Has the hangover gone?
It comes back every weekend at the moment until we do it again. Yeah, all the way into the Charity Shield, the Super Cup, and then the start of the season again. We'll do it all again. I'm hoping this is a long hangover. Yeah,
mate. Do you know what? That feeling never wears off. I mean, Saj is an Arsenal fan, so you won't know, but
I would know. I've been Arsenal fan since 1987.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying about winning the treble. You wouldn't know about having that hangover.
I know about Invincibles though.
Okay. Are we gonna have this conversation now? Yeah.
But it's the only record that's not been beaten yet. So I'll take that.
They're good, those Invincibles with those 12 draws.
Doesn't matter.
Really good.
12 draws and what? 38 wins.
Yeah, but City got 11 more. City got 11 more. City got 2 defeats, but 11 more points.
Yeah. So, okay.
Ooh, I didn't mean to do this so early, but hey, I don't mind. Well, look, let's start with City, Steve. Fantastic achievement, no doubt. And I'm not going to lie to you, mate. It didn't come as a surprise to me. In all fairness, you hear about teams challenging for trophies on all fronts, like we had Liverpool a couple years ago, actually. And I didn't actually believe that they would do it. But then with City, even when they lost to Brentford before the World Cup, I was saying to myself, this team are going to come back bigger and better. And I'll tell you what, it's always that January time where they kind of kick into gear and they just demolish everyone in front of them. So it did come as a surprise that they did win it because it hadn't been done for so long. But at the same time, they steamrolled everyone on the way towards it, mate.
They did. And I'd like to obviously share this with the lads because, you know, everybody watches them and admires them. Just because I love the club and support them and watch them, you know, doesn't mean that I've got an extra insight because, you know, everybody watches them and has an opinion on them. You know, they're nobody's secret. But obviously it was a fantastic achievement. I think quite right. They will have been humble. I think the supporters were nervous, but I think the ones who were in total control of it was the manager and the players because simply they've been better than every opponent this year. Obviously, what they did to Real Madrid, I think, set a warning, although it was late in the tournament, but it set a warning across the world what they were capable of. And if they were to get anywhere near that performance again, nobody would be able to live with them. Now, to be fair, that performance might be one of the greatest Champions League first hours of all time. And it would be difficult to get to that point again. But I think it really was a one across the bows for everybody else in terms of fear, you know, whether that be domestically in the Premier League or, you know, to go to the next stage into the Champions League semi-final and final, because what they did to Real Madrid was abuse.
Pretty much. And I look at City, not obviously the season gone, but the season before, there was genuine quality, but there was just a few tweaks from Guardiola. He let Zinchenko leave, he let Jesus leave, and he brought in Haaland and a couple others as well. And they just looked a completely different proposition, especially the back end of the season.
Well, yeah, I think it's been spoken about now, but I think there was a Nottingham Forest point given away where they drew, where they should have won, where they were experimenting by trying to get extra, you know, players into midfield, and they did it the other way around with Bernardo Silva going from midfield to left back. It shouldn't be forgotten they tried it with Zabaleta, they've tried it with Kyle Walker, and before eventually John Stones, you know, took the baton and ran off with something that we've not seen it before in the domestic game of a defender going into midfield and actually ending up in the other team's box. So he'd been wanting to do it for a while. He'd just not found the right player to do it. Zinchenko had done a little bit. And obviously since Alexander-Arnold's done it for Liverpool and England, but John Stones has shown very quickly, you know, what a player and how he can, you know, move a team on in its development. And as you say, some players left the club, but all of a sudden, this before I hand it over to the two lads, what I did find following the club is obviously it's an amazing squad, but the 11 players all stayed fit and all managed to keep hold of their shirt with their performances. And for the first time for a long time or ever, you could actually predict City's team every time they were having a big game. The team picked itself, the team that started in the final really, or in the FA Cup final against Manchester United. The lads had earned the right to keep getting picked. There was no rotation. There was no messing around. And I think that was unfortunate for 4 or 5 subs, but the 11 players just were brilliant every single week, and the manager found the formula.
That's right. And I think we have to mention a few players in City's success. The first one, I'm not going to go with the obvious, but I'm going to go with Gundogan, who since joined Barcelona. Lads, what a player he's been for City. He's the epitome of clutch, isn't he? Honestly, the goals that he scored at important times, not just the goals, but also his leadership and everything. He's been phenomenal since the past 3 or 4 seasons, for sure.
Send it over to the lads. I love him. I'm sad that he's gone. And he's a Premier League icon. And I think that he's admired by every single football supporter. They're the ones that you know are proper football legends. I think everybody knows he's a great pro, a great fella. He's had an injury that he's come back from. And I think everybody knows he is a top player. I'll hand it over to the lads.
Rhodri? Oh yeah, no, I think he's a great player, as been stated before. I mean, he does make such a difference when he's playing, and obviously got all the skill sets as you know to perform in midfield and score excellent goals and vital goals, especially in the running that City had.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to replace. Obviously, a captain figure. But, you know, everyone wants to play for a big club, and now he's doing that.
Fucking hell, man. He had to get in there. Had to get it in there. Fucking hell. Well, let's talk about Haaland then. No doubt, he's been an absolute phenomenon this season. I remember watching this clip of a podcast where I think this guy's on TalkSport now, and he said at the beginning of the season, Haaland won't be up there with Harry Kane and Salah, and it's disrespectful to the institution to say that he's going to be the leading goal scorer. Well, the guy scored close to 60 goals this season. I mean, for fuck's sake, if there's ever a piss take or eat your words, that's it, isn't it?
It's been unbelievable, hasn't he? It's just like he's become the perfect team player in the end. He wanted to play the games. He was starting, games when you thought he would get rested. He was going full 90 minutes. And I think in the end, the centre-halves and managers of the other teams just became totally obsessed with him. And there were obviously some games towards the end where he wasn't scoring, but working hard and assisting as well. And I think that just allowed Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish and Gundogan, we have to say, for the last 10 weeks of the season, it made them even better world-class players than they already are because of the prowess of Haaland, who was occupying two centre-backs at all times. And I think the rest of his teammates really enjoyed the field day of it all.
Rod, what do you make of this lad?
Who?
Haaland.
Oh, yeah. He's only going to get better, but now managers can prepare for him properly, have a little look at the tape and see what kind of. It's difficult when he's that quick and that strong and that powerful. But he's only going to get better, and with the players around him, more you play with someone, the more you learn the habits and the movements, and so. With De Bruyne still there, Grealish, Foden will probably still be there, Mahrez. Yeah, he's only going to get better. It's just can he now sustain that quality that people are going to expect it now from him. That's a different kind of pressure. So can he still withhold that pressure? I'm sure he can, but we'll have to wait and see.
Sagi must be a defender's
I think Haaland's been fantastic for them. I mean, before if he was playing against City, they'd have the low block, wouldn't they, and just try and contain them. But now you've got the threat in behind with the pace and power of Haaland and stuff now. And then as well as Steve stated, taking up two defenders, then you've got the quality around the pitch with the De Bruynes and the Gundelans and Jack Grealish to perform magic and go on the one-on-ones and stuff like that and score goals from distance as well as take the ball into the box and set up more chances. So he's been fantastic and a breath of fresh air, especially for City. He's got a big prolific scorer in their ranks now.
And just let me touch on what I said before about the playing the same players. So there was some big games there, and Kyle Walker played in them big games, and then the biggest game of all, he was left out, and it's probably not. You can see it from outside, but inside that's got to hurt, and it's got to cause some disruption, because to play all them big games and to keep all them big players out, Vinicius, Mbappe, whoever he come up against, he just cancelled them out, and then to be in the big game and he gets left out to be put on the bench, that's got to hurt.
Oh, for sure. But I'll never forget watching Match of the Day at the beginning of the season. I think it was a fifth game in, and they beat Villa away from home. I think it was Villa away from home, and Haaland had scored like 9 goals in the first 5 games. And they're doing an analysis of him in terms of he was playing off the defender's shoulder, and he was getting really frustrated because the ball wasn't put in the right areas for him. And they were like, we don't know how long this goal scoring run is going to take, and this and that. And there were people out there actually doubting the lad. I could believe it. They were doubting him. And I'm thinking, all it's going to take is a couple more weeks for him to get properly settled and know exactly how he's going to play with his teammates and vice versa. And he's going to be a monster. I mean, that World Cup break was probably the best thing for him because he came back like a man possessed.
Well, he's not the type of person to be going out or to be. He's going to be focused, doing everything he needs to do to hit the ground running. And if you look at him, he's a specimen. He's massive, so he's got to have to look after himself. And I'm pretty sure, well, I know he does. So, and he's probably done him a world of good. He's analysed some of the stuff that he needs to do. He's got better in training. Obviously, still stayed at home. He stayed at City. He's still doing stuff with City. So yeah, he's just an ultra professional as well. That's rare for being a kid of that young. But it's probably having a father that he's got. He's learned the ropes from him, so he's got to step up there from anyone else who went to professional football as a dad.
Oh, for sure. Well, one final thing on this season just gone. Steve, you coached a young lad who won the treble with City just now, obviously, and he's won several honours, and that's Phil Foden. You know, you must be dead proud having coached this lad at a young age, seeing him progress and develop and be this world-class athlete.
Very much so, very totally. But I speak on behalf of all the staff at that time. It was quite easy, Stel. You know, we've got to be humble here. You know, he was always going to make it. We committed to that when he was about 9. And it's not teaching him the game. You have to give him some tactics and some encouragement, but it's just about putting the right training sessions on to help the talent flourish, really. So there's no way really that the club really, myself or any other staff, taught him how to dribble or shoot or receive. But you just constantly kept feeding it through the training and like making the talent, you know, just get better at it. But he was always practicing on his own and with his little brother and his dad on the AstroTurf. He was always first there. He had a fantastic team of teammates, some of which have made it too. And then obviously the best decision was him staying in the system, not going out on loan. So the club at the professional stage have handled his contracts. They've handled the development of not too many reserve games, not a loan, but eventually just going to go straight into the first team and stay there for possibly 15, 20 years, because you couldn't imagine that he would go and play anywhere else. And might have given him some little bits of encouragement and tactical advice and support along the way. And there'll have been a lot of coaches been the same. If there was ever a certain footballer, I know they said it about Rhodri's brother. I know they said it about Wayne Rooney, all different, they're different shapes and sizes. I know they said it about Michael Owen. But there, you know, every now and again you get just an absolute amazing talent, and that was obvious at 9. And to see him now, think about the talent he's got in front of him still.
Oh, I can't hear you, Steve.
You should be able to.
Oh, there you are. There you go.
Yeah, to think about what he's got in front of him now moving forward. You know, he could break all records for silverware because he's that good, the team's that good, and however long the manager stays or whatever happens next, the club is likely to just keep getting better. So he could have the most trophies of all time.
There you go. There you go. Well, before we move on to Sagi's team Arsenal, there's a comment here. It's in Greek. Come to Napa, do a podcast at Nissi Beach. I think we should do that. Go on the plane, go to Napa and do a podcast on the beach. I'm up for that. I don't know if you are.
Oh, bang up for that, defo.
How much do we get for expenses?
Well, I don't know. You know, Theodore wants to pay for it. If he wants to pay for it, he could pay for it. We get a sponsor, get them to pay for us coming out there. You know,
Instead can talk, no problem.
Well, you got the airline connection, haven't you? So we can get that one sorted for sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure they get to fly to Cyprus somewhere.
I think they do. I think they did. No, because I had a delay and I messaged you. No, that we had the problem at the airport and I messaged you about it.
All right, yeah, of course you did.
And
yeah.
you're like, shall I call the CEO? I was like, no, ain't that deep, brother. my daughter dropped her toy.
Oh my god!
Sag, come on, let's talk about Arsenal, mate. Because you know, let's get it right. I didn't think you would have believed, having had the season you had the previous year, dropping out the top 4, that you'd be challenging for the title. But let's get it right. Arteta's done a good job, I think. That being said, he's spent close to £500 million, and you know, finishing second, albeit behind Man City, is no disgrace. Is there more expected next season? Surely.
Definitely. I mean, the money that they spent was definitely needed. They need to get rid of a lot of the mentality, the deadwood, the players who played just, you know, God, I can't explain the mentality, but it's a horrible mentality that they had within the club, and now it's took a while to get rid of. It's changed the mentality and the culture within the club. but now we're moving in the right direction. Before the season, I did predict that we'd probably come. I believed that we'd finish third. Much better season than I believed that we'd have. I think we probably the Saliba injury definitely had a big impact on our season. I mean, he was a stalwart. If you relate that to Man City, if a Man City player came out, they'd have the same quality that was coming in, but was having people like Rob Holding coming in. No disrespect, a good, solid professional, but obviously not on the same level as Saliba. And then just a loss of form towards the end of the season for quite a few players, and probably a loss of belief as well. And obviously, Man City putting pressure on them as well. That they'd never been in that position before. So, you take that as a learning season, and hopefully we can kick on and win silverware next season.
Well, there's no doubt Jesus had a good season when he was fit. There's no doubt that Trossard was an astute signing. You mentioned Saliba and his injury, but I think, having Zinchenko there as this inverted left back worked to a certain point. But I just think it goes back to what you mentioned about the whole mentality. There are players at the club that are a little bit brittle in that respect. And, if Xhaka leaves, you lose that tough nut in the middle of the park. There's talks about Partey possibly leaving. And then you got Saka, who's played God knows how many games this season. There's a risk of him being burnt out. Yeah, there's a risk of him being burnt out. So I think this is a very, very big summer for Arsenal. Very big indeed. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, towards the end of the season, Saka's last 5 games, Saka looked burnt out. He didn't look anything like himself, but obviously came back for England and did fantastic. But they need to find a backup for Saka for sure. Relatively the same quality, although I believe that Jesus or Trossard could play on that side as well. But they just need to do some rejigging within the squad and balance a few books. I mean, they're supposedly having the guy from Eyre coming, Timber, who I believe kind of plays a bit like Zinchenko, which is a bit worrying if you've got both of them playing at the same time with the, sticking stuff up on the back stick. They're going to be maybe a problem towards us defensively. But yeah, I mean, it'd be good. It'd be fantastic if we get Rice in, but they're taking quite a bit of time, and I think West Ham are probably trying to drive up the price as well, trying to get other clubs involved, i.e., Man City. So we'll see, and we've got Havertz coming in as well, which I believe may resurrect his career from his time at Chelsea. So there's a positive outlook for next season for sure, and I believe that we hoping that we should win something next season.
So where does Havertz play then? Because I don't think even Chelsea knew his best position.
Well, I think the thing with Arteta is he knows his system and he knows the way he wants to play. He's got a definite profile of each position that he wants to play and the kind of player that he wants within the team. So in each, very rarely has he made a bad transfer. So I believe in his transfer policy, and I believe Havertz, he's got all the qualities to do well. I mean, if you look at some of the stats, he's got the most runs into the box behind Haaland. So, and that's the kind of player that we need as well. I believe that he probably sits in that Xhaka role, where he's got a bit of freedom to move forward and get into the back stick, where Xhaka was scoring goals with his head, and he had the most fruitful season, goal scoring season at Arsenal, and probably his best season.
The thing is, mate, you mentioned Arteta's transfers, and I look at the ones that he's made. I wouldn't say recently, but 2021, 2022, you got Cedric Suarez, Runason, the goalkeeper, Pablo Mari, Nuno Tavares, Lokonga. There's been a few duds there.
I think that if you look at each year, I think the transfers at the time were to fill gaps more than anything. Right. So Suarez was to kind of play both fullbacks, but obviously didn't work out. Nuno Tavares kind of was okay, and then he's just totally gone off the rails and can't defend. So I think a lot of it was to fill gaps within a certain time period. So and Runason was, I think the goalkeeper coach recommended him, so they took him on his word. It's not much of a gamble for £1 million, considering how big the club was. So, not that I'm a Arteta defender, but I believe I can see a process of each year of the transfer system and the reason why they brought in certain players, I believe.
So, how many players do you think Arsenal need to keep up with City next season? Because obviously they've raised the bar now, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean it's an in and out situation. It's about the players that they need to get out as well. So, for example, I'd probably sell Eddie Nketiah and keep Balogun and give him a season and see how he goes. I'd maybe get rid of Holding. Jack, as you said, is probably leaving. I think Partey's a good one to get rid of. I think he's a great player, but if you look at his age, he's got 2 years left. He's on quite a high wage. This is probably the max that you're going to get transfer money that you'll get out of a club for him at this stage. And I believe if we get in the right profile of play, you could kind of cater for his loss.
Okay, cool. Right, let's talk about United. If I'd have told you at the beginning of the season, you got two options. Okay, no, actually, let me rephrase that question. If I'd have told you at the beginning of the season, which one would you be happy about? Which one would you be disappointed about? Finishing top 4 and winning the League Cup, or knowing that you've won the League Cup, finished top 4, lost in the FA Cup final, and basically flopped big time against Sevilla in the quarterfinals. Was it quarterfinals? Quarterfinals, wasn't it? Of the Europa League.
Yeah,
quarterfinals. Yeah. Would you have taken any? Obviously, you would have taken the top 4 and win the cup, but knowing being knocked out of the quarterfinals of the Europa League in the manner that United were, and then obviously losing in the cup final, would that be disappointing?
Do you remember Ralph Ragnick last year?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So
of course,
this year's been a plus, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, top 4 definitely.
After last year, it's a big turnaround. How strong City and Liverpool were, as long as they're there competing, back in the Champions League and winning. United, I would content with that. No, I'm realistic. No, we should be competing. It's just jokers. So, yeah, it's just realistic. We've won a cup, win the Champions League, progression. Now we need to better that next year. So, and it's going to be difficult, but that's what you have to do. It's Man United. We've got a lot of money to spend. They've got some players coming in, some players going out, and then once the season starts, we'll see the lay of the land. If they haven't got a centre forward, then it's over. There's no chance. So they need to sort that out.
Well, this is it. It's a very good point. And I think Ten Hag deserves a lot of praise given the resources that he had this season. And I'm not talking about the money that he spent, obviously, like on Anthony. But no disrespect, Wan-Bissaka hasn't been great the past few seasons, but he did well back end of the season. Dalot was okay. But, when you've got Martinez picking up an injury and you're having to rely on Lindelof or Maguire to come in, and to finish top 4 is good. Luke Shaw has had a good season, especially playing at centre-back, which, again, it was a revelation. Casemiro was a great signing. Eriksen as well. But then you're looking at the likes of Sancho and Anthony, and you're thinking, what's going on with them?
First season, and he did okay. He scored about 10 goals. So you're just looking at the price tag. But he's a young kid. He's got potential in. Sancho is a different story. Go on, sorry, mate.
Yeah, and to get as far as they did without a recognised striker. Signing Weghorst was a bit of a strange one, but I guess he did all right. I guess he did a job, or what it was expected from Ten Hag. I don't know. What was even expected?
Well, for the centre forward to come in and to play for that Man United side and score, 2 goals? If that? Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more to say about it.
So, again, same question as with Sag. How many signings do United need to make to challenge it, or at least close the gap? It's a big gap.
That for me?
Yeah.
How many players need to sign? Well, how many players that are going to go out first? Is McTominay going? Is Maguire going? Alanga? Are they going to get rid of Sancho? Martial? So there's 120 million quid there at least with them 5 players.
It depends. It depends whether they go Saudi Arabia. You might get the full price for them.
Yeah, but I'm talking then there's 5 or 6 players there. So I'm being conservative, like 25 million player when there should be more. Martial's more than 25 million. McTominay's 25 million. Maguire.
It's not so much a transfer fee. It's more the wages that they're going to have to pay these players.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem that Arsenal had getting rid of a lot of the players. It's the
well,
wages.
they're not going to get rid of them all, are they? So you just got to weigh up which ones can you get the most for, or which ones do you want to get off your wage bill? You know, De Gea, what do they do with him? Did they pay for a big transfer fee for a keeper, or did they bite the bullet and have him for free but pay him a wage? So. But they need a centre forward, no doubt. They need a centre forward. By looking at the end of the season last year, even though Eriksen did well, he looked tired, he looked slow. So you need someone with energy in there. That was probably that's when Mason Mount comes into play. Then you keep Fred. There's another player who you can get rid of. But again, it's the wage bill. So it's big decisions, but nothing's going on at the minute. So they need to hurry up because
that's got to be a concern because
centre forward is the main thing they need.
Well, it's got to be a concern because you mentioned De Gea, and I personally think they need to just let him go. You know, he's been a good servant to the club, but you know he's made too many mistakes recently that, for my liking, anyway. You know, Phil Jones is off the wage book though. I guess that's a good thing. Phil Jones is gone. You know, so there's a lot to do, and I think the other concern.
Eric Bailly's got. There's a few. There's about 10 or 11 that could go. But like I say, like Sag says, that the wages that some of these kids are on. Don't think that McTominay would be much of a problem because he was a youth player, and youth players tend not to get large wages. So, but Maguire probably got a big wage, but. You know, there's a deal there to be done with say West Ham with Rice. You know, there's lots of deals to be done with them, that kind of players. If you could, you know, Brighton would Maguire fit at Brighton? I don't know, but
send them all to Tottenham. Send them all to Tottenham. It's fine.
Ange won't touch him. Ange won't touch anyone.
They are probably Tottenham players. You know, weak-minded Tottenham.
Yeah, and what you're saying about a De Gea, I think it's a great point. I think goalkeeper is the most underrated position. You need someone solid and someone reliable, and I don't think although he won. What did he win the Golden Gloves last year for the most clean sheets?
I think the problem is with
makes too many errors.
Yeah, the problem is with the game. Yes, the errors, but it's the start of play how Ten Hag wants to play, and he's terrible. He's passive. It's up there with Stez's. It's not the greatest. So.
Oh my god!
No, it says he's much better. I'm being unkind. No, yeah, his ball playing is terrible. So, and you look at the player with the black kid for which is the
Banana. Yeah, he's a great keeper. Feet as well, and everything.
Yeah, he looks big, commanding, but his feet he can play. But ultimately, you want to be able to keep him out of the net. So, but yeah, if it was me, I'd bite the bullet and get rid of him.
The thing is, when you look at...
But then again, you've got to pay 50, 60 million quid for a new keeper, so it's a tough one.
It's true, but the thing is, the other concern is how, and I'm going to take this to Steve now, how Man City are getting their business done straight away. They've gone right in. You know, they brought in Kovacic from Chelsea, who I think is a very good replacement for Gundogan. No, you don't think?
Gundogan?
Kovacic
never scores, rarely assists, and Gundogan's the captain who's just won the treble, who gets double figures and sets his teammates up for goals. Kovacic never scores or assists. I'm hoping that Kovacic is going to be a replacement for one of the subs. You know, if he's a starter, that's not an improvement, in my opinion.
The lad, what's his name that he got from Leeds?
Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
No. As covered at the start of the show, I love Gundogan that much. If he can be half as good, That'll do me.
So what player do you think could replace him then?
Pardon?
What player do you think could replace Gundogan?
Phil Foden.
True.
He's had injuries. He's had his appendix out. He plays 6 positions for the club. He was a starter before Grealish. Grealish has took the wide left shirt mostly this season. He's played there for England. And I think a left-footed left midfielder running into the box with and without the ball, like Gundogan, a different player, obviously, because Phil's a dribbler often. I think that might be the position that he takes up next season. I think the position of replacing Gundogan is already in the building.
Okay. So there's talks of Gvardiol, the centre-back. Apparently he's agreed personal terms and they're looking at about 100 million for him, which, whatever, it's 100 million, you pay for the player if you badly want him. Clearly, centre-back is an area that Guardiola identifies as an area that needs to be, filled or strengthened, so to speak. Is that because Laporte is going, or is there a chance that Walker's going to go?
I could see that. And I'd just like to throw one at you all. I could see Laporte going because his game time has become less. You could see Walker going because it'd be like a last lucrative move, possibly in his career, but he's been brilliant. For me, begrudgingly, I've said that Gary Neville has been the best right back in Premier League history. I used to think you'd be able to challenge that, but 20 minutes later, you were stuck with the same opinion. So he's always had my respect for that. But Kyle Walker, for me, has been the best right back now in the Premier League for what he's won, what he's done. He's always available. He's so quick. And the way Rhodri mentioned it before, the way he snuffed out these big, so-called world-class opponents 1v1, nobody gets the better of him. I think Walker's been the best right back in Premier League history. So if he does leave, I wanted to give him that accolade. But the one I'm going to throw at you is for Declan Rice. If he is to come to City and for City to outbid Arsenal or Rice choose City above Arsenal, he's a middle of the pitch player. He's not as good as Rhodri. He could be like Jordan Henderson, where you could play either side of centre, but you're not the same. And that's what Jordan Henderson is like for Liverpool. He's better when he's in the middle. Rice is not going to dislodge Rhodri. There's no reason why they can't play together as two in the middle of the pitch occasionally. But I've always thought that Declan Rice, whilst not yet, will end up being a defender at the very best clubs, whoever takes him. I could see Declan Rice coming to City and over a period of time ended up being a ball-playing centre-back.
What play? I think he's probably the perfect player to do what John Stones does. Then,
well, there you go. That's fine. Well, he'll have to do it well because John Stones has been incredible, and so has Alexander Arnold.
They could have two there. One goes, one stays.
Yes. I could see. I just don't. Does anybody disagree that Rhodri is not the best centre midfield in the world? Does anybody want to disagree with that?
He's been sensational. Absolutely sensational.
So how do you knock him out of the team? I mean, you can have the occasional rotation. You're not taking him out of the team. You're either playing alongside him or you're playing in a different position altogether because Rodri's the best centre midfielder in the world. So for me, if Rice comes to City, I'm not convinced he will, but if he does, he will get some games in the centre. He will play some games right and left like Jordan Henderson. I'm suggesting he'll also get some games in defence.
I think Rhodri is the best when it comes to arriving late on the edge of the box. Oh. He does it so well. So well. And I mean, we saw with the goal in the final, but he does that a lot. And people talk about the goal in the final, but he's been doing it for years.
Yes.
He's been doing that for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's the machine that they've become. Haaland is looking after two centre-halves. Gundogan's running into the box from left midfield. The opposition are dropping into the box. And it allows that space on the edge of the box for pullbacks for players like him. Obviously, the goal area is busy with bodies, but you've got a chance of deflection or you've got a chance of your shot being blocked. But thankfully, the one in the final, he just side-footed it with a bit of curl into the perfect bottom corner for the goal. But you're not taking his shirt. Whoever comes as a centre midfield for City, you're not taking his shirt. You're playing somewhere else, in my opinion.
For sure. Well, some transfers have been done. We know McAllister joined Liverpool from Brighton. Rhodri, what do you make of this signing? 34 million. Looks like a steal.
Yeah, looked like it was already done by the end of the season. So he was crying at the last game of the season. So like it was done pretty early. World Cup winner, looks very good for Brighton. Brighton were obviously surprise package. You know, everyone were probably expecting, like myself, when Potter left, that they'd dip, but they didn't excel. They got better. The stats shown that, and yeah, there's a lot of players will be handpicked this summer still from Brighton because there's some very good players. Even when you watch Danny Welbeck, he was very impressive what he did for him. So yeah, there'll be a good team and a good one to watch next year. And I don't expect that manager to stay there very long if they keep doing what they're doing.
I tell you what, lads, you could actually see clubs coming in for both of the goalkeepers. And Jason Steele's been knocking around for a long, long time. But Sanchez was this brilliant goalkeeper. I mean, he was on loan at Rochdale, who have just gone out of the Football League. But they were saying Sanchez is this amazing athletic goalkeeper who's brilliant with his feet. And then he's eventually lost his place to the understudy, Steele, because he's even better with his feet. And they start it all off. So you can imagine both goalkeepers actually leaving because the game has changed that much and the demand is for to be playing out from the back from the goalkeeper and to go back to him and to be drawing the opposition close to you to pick people out. This Jason Steele was as good as anybody in the Premier League at it. He really was.
And I think didn't Sanchez kick De Gea out of the Spanish national team?
Yes.
Might be kicking him out of United as well.
There you go. Yeah, you could see both goalies going, honestly, because they're that good with the feet.
Yep.
Casado. There's a few that could go.
Minamoto, yeah.
It's good. Got me a lot of FPL points last season.
And here's another one. Who would you rather have, Lewis Dunk or Harry Maguire?
I mean, Harry Maguire's awful. I mean, I was watching him. He's bad. I mean, I was watching him in the England game, and he just slows down play all the time, and he's just too slow, and he's cumbersome. Doesn't move the ball fast. Gets caught a lot. The game's too quick for him.
Why does he keep getting picked for the national team? Why?
His get off is so sluggish. He looks so slow. Dunk is one of them guys. Once he gets going, he's pretty quick. So
he's brilliant. He plays every minute. He's brilliant. Dunk.
Yeah, can play as well.
Yeah,
I was impressed with it. It was the other one as well. Was it Preston? There was another kid that when they played against us, I was really impressed with them. The way they play football, it was a joy to watch.
I want to quickly talk about Spurs. Sorry, Sag.
Oh no! I appreciate this. I love it.
Well, look, they've been a disaster the past 3 or 4 years. You know, they had Mourinho, Conte, proven winners. Pochettino obviously left, and he went on to win one trophy with Paris Saint-Germain. He's got the Chelsea job. Don't ask. But they brought in Ange Postecoglou from Celtic, which it was a bit of a tug of war because from what I heard originally from people that I know that were working on it, he didn't want to go to Spurs originally. He said apparently the only club that he was interested in was City to replace Guardiola. That's how high he rates himself. Okay, I'll give him that for being ambitious. But then he would only join Spurs if there were assurances. Now, obviously, he probably seems to have got his assurances now, whatever they are, because Levy is obviously a tough guy to deal with. But has it come as a surprise that he decided to leave Celtic after winning so many trophies in that season and being guaranteed Champions League for next season? What do you lot make of it?
In Scotland, you've only got a shelf life, haven't you? Like, you can't stay there the whole, long 5 years or whatever. If you win a couple of titles, you've got to move on and actually challenge yourself because there's only 2 teams up there. Moving to Tottenham, I believe they could be quite good actually because they've had the big names and stuff and assurances, and I think he may be there, not short term, but he may be there just to try and change the culture and get them into a more workman-like team because they've been awful. they're terrible. It's like the whole club just seems toxic from top to bottom. The way it's run, their transfer policy, the way they do a lot of stuff is just terrible. I mean, the only good thing about Tottenham is their stadium at the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Steve, what do you make of the situation at Spurs? You know, Mourinho and Conte, two proven winners, obviously very fiery characters. I wouldn't say that Postecoglou has the same stubbornness as them, but it seems that everywhere he's gone, the players have loved him and he's got tunes out of many of them. And as we've seen with Spurs, I think there are a lot of players that have perhaps overstayed their welcome. How does he change the culture and how does he get rid of a lot of the deadwood? Because let's just get it right. There's a whole bag of it, man, honestly.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be honest. You know, he's in the big shark tank now. He's earned the right, as Brendan Rodgers did when he left Celtic and chose to come into the Premier League before going back up there. But at the same time, you're dealing with the same players in the same squad. I don't know about the wriggle room for recruitment, but you know, you can remove dust temporarily, but it always comes back and settles in the same place. And you're dealing with the same players, and the culture, I think, is embedded misery. I think it's frustration. Harry Kane has just had an amazing season again, but a lot of it is his own graft. You think that Son has had a lesser season this year, and you struggle to find positives for them. And I do believe it'll be the same again. I'm not expecting any type of progress from them, despite the fact that the manager seems larger than life, likeable, and he'll come and change the culture. I don't think he could. I don't think he's got a magic wand. He'll have a good contract, but I think he'll have the same problems and the same miserable outcome.
I'd say again, it's the same thing that Arteta walked into. The culture, the same kind of setup where everything was just toxic. It kind of changed it over, but it's going to take long term to change to reverse the trend. What they have at the club.
You're right. You're right, Seth, but it's going to take a long time. And should they improve after a long time, City have got even better. United and Ten Hag have got even better. Chelsea are spending billions to get better. Arsenal are definitely going to get better. Liverpool are going to come again. So I think the gap will always be the same. It don't matter how good they come, the gap in front of them is too big.
You're correct. You're correct in that. And, you know, it starts from the top as well. Levy's just got quite a bad reputation, has he, within the game? Well, I don't know within the game, but from the outside.
I apologise. I've not even mentioned Newcastle or Aston Villa there.
There you go. Exactly. And you got Newcastle being pumped with all the Saudi money as well, and they've just reinvested as well with the guy from AC Milan, haven't they? The centre midfielder.
Tonali, yeah.
So no, I don't see any type of bounce for Tottenham Hotspur just because a manager's come from the smaller shark tank of Scottish football that's going to come and make Tottenham great. I don't see that.
Tottenham are just like a lost cause, aren't they? They had the opportunity. They got to the Champions League final. Win or lose, they need to strengthen them. They didn't do that, and they've just got worse and worse and worse.
I mean, they didn't make a transfer for a year and a half after the European Championship, didn't they? After the Euro finals or whatever. I mean, if you want to carry on building and build for success, that's what you need to do. Carry on transforming the squad and stuff like that. But you see a lot of the same players there, like Dyer's been there a very long time. The fans, you know.
Davis.
Apparently, he's going to be offered a new contract.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, you need to transform your squad. Is Dyer the man to do that?
Now, you take Harry Kane out of that side and they're a mid-table side then.
Yeah. I've not seen anything like that Tottenham away game at Newcastle last season. I've not seen. Obviously, I'm a neutral supporter in that moment, but I've not seen anything as like weak and lacking character and in Premier League history. I really haven't. And it's there. It'll come again. Unfortunately, if anyone is listening who's Tottenham, I see it.
I mean, it's
25 minutes.
It's child abuse bringing your child up as a Tottenham supporter, isn't it? It's just it's child abuse, man. Because I mean, you're building them character for life and stuff, but you know they're never going to win anything, are they?
It's teaching them resilience to try and overcome adversity. The little train that could go. Come on.
It's child abuse, mate. I'm telling you.
Might be an ammonia factor. Go on.
No, we're all right for now. Don't start. We're all right for now. Thank you very much. We're in the Conference League. That's what matters. All right. You mentioned Harry Kane. I got to ask this question. Let's do a hands up. Is he staying at Spurs? Is he leaving? Hands up for staying. You think he's staying?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to sell him. Who are they going to put there instead? Richarlison. I mean, he got more yellow cards than goals, didn't he? For taking his shirt off. I mean, it just sums up the mentality of the club. I think Levy will just keep him there and just let him go on a free rather than, how much does he want from him now? 80 million, 100 million? Who's going to pay that?
Man United.
I think Man United probably pay 50 million for him, but what
he's got to literally force himself out, and he's got to force his way out.
I mean, he tried it last year, didn't he? But I can't.
But literally, he's obviously didn't force his way. If you didn't force your way, you force your way out. He obviously didn't do a good job. If you want to leave a club, you leave a club. He obviously give in. If you're a player and you want to leave, then you're going to leave. He obviously was half-hearted in his effort of leaving, and it didn't work out. He's got no backbone, but if he wanted to leave, he'd leave.
The lad got 30 goals the last season in that team. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, he's done fantastic as well, but I can't see it. Would you think he'll go United then, guys?
I've got a feeling, mate. I'm suspicious that Manchester United, Rhodri mentioned it before, the only speculation is Mason Mount. They've put a bid in. Are they going to increase the bid? Are they going to do this? We all know that they're likely to, or if not, they're almost certain to. Why is there no links for the great club, Manchester United, when everybody knows they need a centre forward? They can't possibly believe that Rashford is 46 games a season as a centre forward, yet they're not being linked. I just think it could come from nowhere, like the old days, where all of a sudden United go bang.
Sheringham and Berbatov.
Not the old days. These Glaziers are.
Why is there no Rhodri? Why is there no link for centre forward? I know there aren't that many centre forwards. They're becoming less and less.
No.
Why is there not even a link for a centre forward? You'd think there would be, even just for season ticket sales or merch. I don't know, but United desperately.
Pre-season started soon. Wouldn't you want to take that player pre-season?
Yeah.
Why are you leaving it again?
I don't understand how you would like Mason Mount. I think United fans would like Mason Mount, but they don't need Mason Mount. They need a centre forward. Yet you never hear that they're in for one.
Watch this space. I guess. Watch this space. Well, look, boys, there's one thing I want to touch on, and I'm sure we're going to be discussing this throughout the next few weeks anyway. And this is what's going on in Saudi Arabia at the moment. So far, we saw Ronaldo go out there. We saw where Benzema's gone out there, N'Golo Kante, Ruben Neves, Koulibaly's gone out there. There's apparently Neymar could be going out there. Ziyech is on his way. Mendy, Firmino, even Bernardo Silva's linked. So it's quite scary to think what could happen out there in terms of turning it into this super league of players. But can it ever overtake the Premier League? Can it ever?
No,
I don't think so. They've not got the infrastructure there, but obviously they've got the finances and stuff. And I think it's more of a thing where players are going out there for their last big payoff or just to get out and just get a massive wage, to be honest, at the moment. Which happened previously in China as well.
But the difference is that the Chinese money ran out. I can't see the Saudi money running out. The only thing is I believe that will keep the Premier League and all the other leagues alive, our European competition, because no disrespect to that part of the world, but the Asia Cup, it's not going to be like the Champions League. But if they make a Super League in Europe, then it's going to completely change things. And then you're looking at MLS, and they're throwing money at Messi, but they tried for years and years and years to compete with European football, and they could never get it. And here come the Saudis, and they're like, right, we want Wilf Zaha. Apparently he's linked. You got Mahrez. Apparently he's linked. It's ridiculous what they're doing, honestly. I've got no problem with it. Don't get me wrong, and there's no FFP in that part of the world either.
Do you want me to give you a manager link, Stel?
Go on.
Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other day briefly, I think.
Just putting it out there, mate, but we'll just leave it there for now.
Robbie Fowler, because I heard that Steven Gerrard.
I heard the Steven Gerrard one as well.
One Liverpool icon might turn a job down there, and one Liverpool icon might take one. Let's just leave it at that for now.
Well, I think. Sorry, interject. I think the biggest effect it could actually have on the English Premier League is where the Saudi clubs are buying the players, loaning them back to places such as Newcastle, who've been linked with Neves already.
Oh, really?
So basically, by foregoing FFP, loaning them out to Saudi, getting a cheaper rate when they come back for the season.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah,
Good.
so
When's Silver going?
It's just a rumor. But we saw the link with Chelsea, didn't we? We saw the link with Chelsea because I think they're
they've got part
bankrolled
owners, right?
Yeah, they're bankrolled by a Saudi organization, and you're seeing a whole heap of Chelsea players. Because then, when you remember when they made all those signings in January, and people were thinking, "Oh, why have they signed all of these players?" Well, now it makes sense, doesn't it? And they're going by they're beating FFP by selling these players on for huge sums of money. It's incredible. But
I mean, this is a problem. They keep on changing the rules for Chelsea because in the last transfer window, they said that you can't pay transfer fees off over such a long period from the was it Mudryk? I think that's over 8 years or something.
Yeah,
Mudryk, for 8 years or something like that, wasn't it? Over the term of his contract, so they've limited it down to 5, and now, with ownership of other clubs and stuff. I mean, City do that, but obviously haven't got a club in Saudi Arabia where they can kind of forego the FFP rules.
Yeah. Well, there's a question here related to Premier League. How do Premier League teams end up with so many players on the sidelines in long term? And I'm guessing he means through injuries. I'm guessing it's load and volume in the amount of games. Is that fair to say, or is there something else?
It depends, mate. So some years you could have some 1 year you could have none, and next year you could have 3 or 4 long-term injuries. It's just pot luck. It's just
Yeah, it depends whether they're impact or whether they're like whether you've done them yourself, without any contact, non-contact or contact. I think Arsenal had a lot of problems with injuries before, and that had to do with the training pitch and how hard it was or whatever. But there's lots of different factors that can come into play with that with injuries.
I'm guessing the World Cup had something to do with it as well, with the amount of games that players play, especially domestically, and then you've got the internationals and Nations League and friendlies and Euro qualifiers and all that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's so difficult. It's most difficult. Play an extra 10 games a season.
Anyway, I mean, United are getting rid of players that have been. Okay, you mean United are now getting rid of players that have been there for years that never really played. So, like Phil Jones, for example. Okay, well, just not good enough. They're just not good enough, or they've done things to upset the coaching staff, or they don't work hard enough.
Bad business as well. These players are on big wages, and they're not good enough to be on these wages. So no one wants to buy them and take that wage on.
I mean, I just heard that Chelsea signing someone from, is it that Jackson guy? Jackson, 8-year deal,
striker,
8-year contract supposedly. I mean, imagine he don't do what after 2 seasons. You've got to pay him off for 6 years.
They do this in America, these high, these long contracts.
Yeah,
out the money that they give them. That's mad. Yeah. It looks like a big money, but ultimately it's not because they're only paying it yearly.
But you still got the wages there, and it depends,
Yeah, but at the time you think, wow, it's going to be for that.
Yeah.
But it's not. They've only paid 12 million. They're going to pay another 12 million. Well, yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. As you said, it's a lot different in America where they get their guaranteed wages, and then a lot of the stuff is built up on bonuses as well, aren't they? As well in the NBA and the NFL and stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, boys. I think we're done. We've done almost literally 30 seconds away from an hour. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll do this again. Hopefully we'll do this again next week. And I've put all these socials and all the stuff in the description. So everyone that's watching, especially if it's on repeat, leave a comment in the description down below. And we'll be back very, very soon. Until next time. I can't even get my words out. See, I've been doing a podcast with Greek people for so long. My English has been reduced to. Anyway, doesn't matter.